I feel like we've achieved some sort of peak uh, responsory almost. Um, we've covered for the past couple of weeks what the foreign press has seen and looked on in quite abject horror of the UK's response to the coronavirus. So today we are looking at the Guardian, looking at other world newspapers and media's response to the UK's coronavirus. Yeah, it's this train just never seems to stop. And you thought Brexit was going to be bad. Oh, oh. And bear in mind, we have seen how bad the Tory party is now at trying to plan for long-term solutions, because all their current solutions they are suggesting to the current crisis are very, very short term. There are no long-term plans or initiatives in place to help people, the economy, or anything like that whatsoever. So if you think that the economic problems that Brexit was going to be was definitely going to cause, um, good luck trying to find any long-term plans or any plans that could try and help out the UK economy, leaving what is the world's largest single market. Dear. But anyway, so it starts off with across Europe to the US, the foreign newspaper verdict is that Britain has performed badly. Britain's reputation for its handling of the coronavirus epidemic has taken another global pasting after newspapers worldwide reported on what they described as confusion and internal divisions that are rapidly creating a crisis as big as Brexit for the UK. With many diplomats admitting that soft power reputations are being forged or destroyed during this pandemic, the European press in particular is taking the time to point out that the UK is experiencing the worst death rate in Europe, revealing a national health service that is underfunded and underprepared. The UK is also being singled out as the country that led on the theory of herd immunity, only to backtrack. One of the UK's diplomatic strengths has long been its international advocacy for global health, and its poor domestic performance may damage its influence worldwide. The German newspaper Die Zeit put the UK near the bottom of the league table, writing that in Great Britain, the infection has spread unchecked longer than it should have. The wave of infections also spread from hospitals to old people's homes, which could have also been avoided. The government is now trying to pretend that the public that it is in the situation is now under control. Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, I think that's how you say it, acknowledged that the UK's special context. The Prime Minister may be credited with having to fight a harder struggle than some of his other heads of government. Britain, and London in particular, is particularly vulnerable. As a former colonial power and Europe's air hub, it is the closest contact with the world. Many Britons live in metropolitan areas where the virus spreads faster. With the state's National Health Service, the nation has also given itself a health system that is cumbersome, bureaucratic, and that has been underfunded for some time. It predicted that once the nation has returned to normal, more citizens than before may question their faith in the British exceptionalism. That will not immediately drive them back into the arms of the European Union, but it could leave a lasting increase on pressure on the Johnson government as prolonged trade talks with the EU, and it will not fail with a gesture of arrogance. There we go. In Italy, Corriere della Sera, I think that's how you say it, pointed to the national divisions within the UK, writing that the United Kingdom is shattering in phase 2. Last night, in a televised speech to the nation, Boris Johnson announced the progressive, but still slow and gradual, relaxation to the lockdown. The government message goes from stay at home to be alert. However, the other regulations of the country the other regions of the country do not agree. Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland will continue to ask their citizens not to leave their home. The Spanish newspaper, El País, I think that's how you say it, El País? I don't know. I'm terrible with foreign things, you should all know this by now. Reported the UK's government strategy had generated confusion and anger among citizens, businessmen, and the self-employed. It claimed that Johnson has always been known to pitch his speech to the character of the British and tell them what they wanted to hear, or at least make them smile, until now. An editorial in Le Monde, I think that's how you say it, the French, the leading French daily, described Britain's new slogan as cringeworthy, given that the UK had recorded the worst mortality figures in Europe. In news reporting, the UK itself was fading and added that despite Europe's worst mortality, probably too late entry into the confinement and the blatant lack of preparation, the British have so far supported Johnson. The Dutch newspaper, De Volkskrant, also challenged the UK's performance. According to many, testing, testing and testing is the motto. That has hardly happened in the UK for weeks, losing sight of the spread of the virus. This gap shows that the British were insufficiently prepared for the pandemic despite the presence of expertise in this area. The country has been catching up in recent weeks. Much of the harm has already been done, though. The Swedish newspaper, prepare for me to butcher this one, Svenska Dagbladet, say it, criticised Johnson's ambiguity, while the New York Times said that many had been left baffled, adding that his proposals had run into a baggage of opposition, as critics pointed to gaps, contradictions in the plan that left many pondering basic questions that were such as when the return to work and how to get there. The Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch, was more sympathetic, saying that the UK faced the same trade-offs as other countries worldwide, but warned it is quickly becoming a bigger political challenge for Boris Johnson than Brexit. Thomas Fletcher, the former British diplomat and a great student of the soft power league table, wrote recently, "This will be a defining moment for national identities, as many of us are getting more attuned to what is happening globally and some have more time to absorb it. The reputation of nations has been put under the microscope. Whether was efficient responding to it. How did their populations react? Were they led by reason or emotion? What did they prioritize in their response? All of that will resonate for years in the league tables of soft power. There will be winners and there will be losers, and it is hard to see as the UK. There we go. It is hard to see the UK still stands to see bidding for the title." And yeah, we're getting an absolute slating in newspapers all across Europe. So yeah, it ain't good. And we remember we've had to turn to, not only that was just the European papers and two from America, but we've had to go to like the Sydney Herald, not those, the Daily Sydney, was it the Daily Sydney Herald? I can't remember its name now. But we had to go all the way to Australia to get a really good, accurate reporting of just what the hell was honestly going on, and an absolute shock. And people think that we're, quote, ready for Brexit. Yeah, we were meant to be ready for this pandemic, but oh boy, we weren't ready in the slightest. So yeah, that's just typical Tory dogma, though. It's short-term planning for short-term wins. They don't care about the long term.